Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Robbie Tucker titled The Clown Was Dancing, and if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on YouTube and we're going to listen through this track from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. The Clown Was Dancing. It's kind of disconcerting with the theme. I had to use the piano though with the guitars.
I had some stuff to do, but I forgot my bags. I needed to walk there, but I forgot my legs. I tasted trouble too, and you were unaware. I told your sister true, she didn't seem to care.
Is this experimental? Is this a little bit avant-garde? Because I don't mind that. I like the interesting textures, the fact that the story isn't spoon-fed to you.
I raised my lover's gun right just outside his shed. I told him you're the one. He said goodbye instead. So I turned to walk back home. Then he said he changed his mind. I was no longer sad, but I would be in time. Started dancing, started to romancing.
There's a very friendly combination of elements here. It's good to have the back and the la 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 la, those vocal layers on top of the second half of the chorus. Just keeps you interested as you have that hook line repeat itself.
Hey! Where's my cigarettes? Someone took my cigarettes! God damn it. When it was time to leave, I left and came back home. Although I knew that I would be all alone. Someday maybe I'll plan to fall in love again. But if I die instead, I guess that'll be the end.
Yeah, it's nice to have the ukulele there, good stuff.
Alright, it's time to leave. It's time to leave. Get out of here now. Get out of here now. The party is over. I raised my lover's gun right just outside his shed. I told him you're the one. He said goodbye instead.
What is this song? What is happening? Wow, what was this? I'm genuinely gobsmacked by this. Alright, so this is the conclusion of this track, titled The Clown Was Dancing from Robbie Tucker. What do I think this track is about? We had romancing, we had a clown, we went to the lover's house. We were told to leave, we said goodbye instead. And then we came home, we might as well have been alone, or we were going to go home alone. And I guess the other way of it occurring was they would end up dead. So is he the clown? Is the person that he's talking about the clown? Is it that this whole entire situation was just a facade, a complete mess, and we weren't sure how to make of it? Is it like the sad clown thing where like the tragedy of it is meant to be a comedy? I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure what this track is about. I feel like there is some nuance here, even after listening through it, that I'm missing here. But I suppose that was simply it. The clown was telling the story. There was some jovial moments potentially, but at the end it all goes to black, the curtain call, you know? Interesting. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what the track is about, if I'm honest. I had a go at it. after listening to it on a first listen basis. I am unsure. I'm sure if you guys will let me know in the comments, but that's okay. We've got ourselves a track here with a really fascinating story. It's an interesting angle. I like the cigarettes being stolen as well. Is it Robbie or the other person that is the one without the cigarettes? Are we talking about a cigarette addiction? I have so many questions. About this, and I'm genuinely fascinated by it. Honestly, like it's really cool stuff actually. But yeah, the vocal style, getting back to that, is unusual. I liked the hook vocals, I liked the clean parts, I like the technique that we used here, I like the personality infused within it. There's a kind of playfulness, there's a bit of voice acting, like with the clown nose talking about the cigarettes and stuff like that. There's backing vocals, there's a cooler response to his main lines in those verse sections. There's quite a wide variety of voicings within this action. It's clear that Robbie Tucker really cares about their music, and I think that I cannot emphasize how much love I have for the effort they put into it. It wasn't a bad vocal performance by any means. I think that it was actually quite well done. I don't think it took itself too seriously. I think that made it more interesting to listen to, even if I didn't necessarily understand what was going on. And I think more than anything, the effort he put into the performance, the passion behind it, sort of the playfulness to it, how authentic it was to each of the different moods in the set piece, made me respect it enough to want to think about it after this listening session. So well done. It worked, you know. It was an interesting theatrical performance here, and I enjoyed listening to it. I think that's the point of an audio-visual experience. Why not just have it as more than a song, you know? Have it as a quote-unquote experience. No, vocals were done well. There were some compelling vocal melodies and some really engaging, fascinating harmonies here. I've said fascinating a lot. I'm happy with it all around. I don't really have any complaints about the vocals at all. There were some parts where I'm not sure if the vocals were at the same level as other parts of vocals in the mix, but that's more of a studio production thing, and even then I don't think it's too egregious or anything like that. Yep, outside of the vocals, I think the track at just under 3 minutes is a really good length, you know. We didn't overstay our welcome with the different verse passages as well as the hook parts, you know. We had enough time to have like the kind of like that sort of, what is it? Carnivalesque kind of that sort of synthy tone there, maybe a little. There's a specific instrument that makes that sound. Obviously we had the guitars, the bass, the drums, and the ukulele coming in later on as well. We made good use of the 3 minutes. I think we had enough instrumental parts coupled with the storytelling and further embellishment of the themes, with a bit of voice acting and some bits as well to go between the hooks and verse parts. And we didn't overstay our welcome with the theme there. I think that you know, if we just go to the middle here and just kind of feel it out, we had like a nice kind of casual, easy to follow along to drum beat that pocketed for most of the while there. We didn't overcompensate with any of the rhythmic devices there. The bass line was nice and full in the low end without being too overbearing. It filled up that part of the stereo frequency spectrum really, really well, and was musically sound with the rest of the chord progressions and other kind of elements within the mix and in the arrangement. I think the guitars there, the strum parts we had, as well as any other sort of arpeggiated bits, were classy and made sense with the storytelling. We didn't have any sort of overly complex harmonies there with the guitar parts that kind of stifled the emotional, we didn't overburden the listener with the accompaniment trying to tell them how to feel, if that makes sense. A lot of the focal point in this track was obviously the singing and the storytelling, so that was fine. I've also just realized there was also an organ in there or something like that. Keys which were really quiet as a sub layer, and I kind of admire them for that, putting that in as a sub layer. I think that was a nice mid-range element there that kind of shines there, although it's not in your face at the same time. I think that it's just a nice mid-resonance there with the guitars panned to the sides of the stereo field. It makes sense to have that in the space where there aren't vocals present. There was lots of variation with the different rhythms on the various instruments, you know. There was variation with the chord progressions as well as the bass lines as well. We didn't stick with one main idea. We kind of flew between a few of them and transitioned fairly seamlessly. And the motif, you know, overall, the main sort of like theme sounded a little bit sad, like we were mourning something, but again, it didn't want to commit too heavily to that darkness there. It's almost like it's taking pity on itself from like the way the instruments sounded together with the vocals, you know. It's like it's offering you a glimpse without trying to sort of like drown the listener in the things that it's working through. And I kind of appreciate the fact that it's trying to show a little bit of itself, but in a way which is respectful, I suppose, to the listener, you know? Especially for like a first impression. Like this at the 2-minute 56 length works really well as a single, and I appreciate the fact that we didn't feel the need to really kind of overcomplicate any part of it whatsoever. It went in, it went out. You know, you had some interesting angles with the vocal parts. It was interesting to listen to. And yeah, you could probably happily listen to that in one single sitting and remember it and be happy with it and pleased with it. So yeah, no, things make sense. There's nice synergy between the various elements, and I don't think there was a note out of place. Finally, the studio recording, mixing and mastering was solid. I'm stoked with how things were placed together in this stereo field, as well as, you know, in the frequency spectrum. I don't think there were any weird resonant frequencies there, and things were nice and wide and kind of surrounded you and encapsulated you within Robbie Tucker's world. But I suppose the vocals were nice and present as well. They were recorded well, and I think it was a good take. There were some parts where like some of the vocals kind of like sounded like they were more resonant than others, as if we were following them around the stereo field, and the loudnesses were as a way of transferring you to and fro. I don't necessarily mind that. It's just something I noticed. Outside of that, though, I think the elements of the mix were generally pretty well balanced, and the guitars, bass, you know, drums and the organs is a sub layer, as well as the intro kind of synthy kind of thing that was going on there. We had a nice amount of dynamic range within the track, as well as just a situation where the instruments could breathe, but they were still nice and loud. So like limiting compression was handled really well. And I mean, to be honest with you, as a final comment, I haven't really heard a track like this in quite a while, and it's interesting to kind of have my expectations. Well, to be fair, I don't really have any expectations of a person listening to it for the first time, but like it's nice to be listening to sort of reasonably unique music. There's stuff from different genres that I can recognize and influences, but I think that Robbie Tucker's put it in a way which is meaningful, and it will help me to remember him if I hear more of his stuff, and I'm thankful for that, because that's what you need in this day and age. If you're making music, if you're making a name for yourself, you got to have some way of getting it to stick, right? So best of luck to Robbie Tucker in future with their music, but basically this is my review of Robbie Tucker's song The Clown Was Dancing, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love via the various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either hell more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.